take their seats. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and natural resources contained within. We recognize First Nation, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support we need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on this land where we now all reside together. Disclosure of pecuniary interests and general nature thereof, seeing none. Rise to go in committee of the whole at 5 after 10 with myself in the chair. Moved by Councillor Kelly, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. Before we start, got opening remarks. I'd like to welcome MPP Mallette and MPP Kramp. Thanks for taking very busy schedule and coming to talk to us today. I just want to mention that communication between the two of you and us have been great. I have your number, Shelby, and we've talked many a times. It's Chris that we're after because he has the purse strings of the money. But sometimes I talk to Chris more than I talk to my wife, which is not good some days, but yes. But I just want to comment and thank you for lobbying for us in the House. I know you both work well together and you both communicate well together, and that's the plus of having two MPs that get together and are working for the riding. And I consider you both riding MPs, and that works out very well for us. I just want to communicate through federal funding that we have received, and Chris has it in his PowerPoint, to thank you for the Housing Accelerator Fund, which was a record $16.5 million plus $10.5 million, I believe, for a total of 27. Money for the hub, about 3.5. Veterans from Hastings County, I could go on. But thank you for both of you for shielding our case in Ottawa and success of that money coming towards us. I just want to make it noted that we are creatures of the province. There's the federal government, which basically is the father, we'll say, and the mother of the province, and from there we're the children. So we get the scraps sometimes. We provide 66% of the services with about 11 or 12 cents on the tax dollars. So there's not a lot of questions and letters for you, but what we can do is start with your opening statements. I can start with MPP, which one wants to go first? MPP Kramp. Who's on first? MP Kramp.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship. Again, my name is Shelby Kramp-Neuman, Member of Parliament for the long-named riding of Hastings, Lennox, Addington, Tyendinaga. For those of you that are not familiar, it's a super large riding that basically goes from Lake Ontario to Algonquin Park. There's 18 member municipalities within the riding, along with 2 partial municipalities, City of Belleville being one of them. So happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, the entire council. Indeed, right now there is a tremendous amount happening. We're living in a very complex geopolitical environment. Currently, I'm serving as Shadow Minister of Canada-US Trade. So needless to say, every day is evolving and dynamic, and a lot of it is out of our control, but what we have to worry about is what we can control. And from a opposition perspective, we can propose, we can provide solutions, we can oppose where necessary, but let's call a spade a spade. If the government is doing something good, we should say, you know what, kudos. But there's many occasions where I think we need to respectfully suggest what is not working and how we can make it better. From a relationship standpoint between the role of Member of Parliament and of our counterparts on provincially and then here around the table and all municipalities that I serve in the riding, it's extraordinarily important that we continue to have the dialogue, the funding applications. Chris and I have had, Member Mallette and I have had really good coordination. We are working well, there's no question. There's a lot at stake. Affordability continues to be the #1 issue that is facing Canadians. Bread and butter issues affect every single issue. There's a lot of blame that falls on what's happened in the last 10 months, but realistically, we all know, I'm comfortable to say that it's been a slow crease over the last 10 years. So this is not something that's going to get fixed overnight, but I need to do everything that I can in my power to respectfully advocate on all of the municipalities that I share in representation and all of the people in the riding. As members of Parliament, we recognize that we don't just represent those that voted for us, we represent all people. And at this stage, this cross in the roads that Canadians are facing, we need more now than ever to show coordination and to respectfully, as opposition, oppose where we see fit and work together whenever possible. And that's what I pride myself in. Lastly, so we can just get to the conversation and issues at hand, I think that the importance of listening to constituents and working together. Anybody during an election campaign should say and will say the collaboration between all three levels of government is integral. Of course it is, but a lot of parliamentarians perhaps suggest that, or a lot of elected officials say that, and then sometimes it falls on deaf ears. I can assure you, after sitting around the council chamber in Centre Hastings for nearly 15 years, I understand this level of government. It's closest to the people, and the realization of legitimately working day in and day out is extraordinarily important. But bottom line, we are representing the people that put us here. Lastly, I'd like just to do a small shout out to our teams, because our teams are the people that are contacted every single day by issues. There's so much casework. There's like over 700 active case files currently in my offices in Napanee and Ivanhoe. Then we do mobile offices in Bancroft and Flinton and Tyendinaga. So the active files that are being looked after, those are the quiet successes that nobody really talks about, but that's what I pride myself and our team prides herself in moving the needle as much as we can. With that, I'll pass it over to back to His Worship, and I'll address any additional questions as they arise.
MP Mallette?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Shelby. Yes, as Shelby mentioned, from day one, and it wasn't lost on us, the situation where all of a sudden the reporter who wrote about her dad and has written about Shelby in the past is now a fellow MP. But on day one, when we had our new parliament, Shelby and I met in the center of the chamber, had a little hug and said, listen, we're going to work together and wherever and whenever we can. And in actual fact, we share this municipality. Shelby has it north of the 401, I have it south of the 401. That doesn't mean we don't work together. And that's to that point that MP Kramp, just made, that we will work collaboratively. I think that's something both she and I can be proud of. And we will do that whenever and wherever we can. And understanding, of course, the nature of our relationship as government MP and opposition MP. That said, we're here today again for mutual discussion on issues that are mutually concerning to many people in the audience. Some are here to hear some answers on funding for homelessness, that sort of thing. A goodly number, I have quickly learned, are here to learn about our take on the high-speed rail proposals. But one thing I just wanted to say, this format, I don't recall this ever happening. So we're making a little history today whereby your members of parliament have actually responded positively or accepted an invitation to sit before you in these chambers and answer your questions in this fashion. All of you have worked with me. You all have my phone number. You're welcome to call me any day at any hour, within reason, with a lot of these questions. So, I have packages of questions on both homelessness and high-speed rail that I could easily have answered with this phone. Also, you'll all see in front of you a copy of a business card for Elizabeth Young, Senior Advisor, Community Relations for altotrain.ca. She was in my office last Friday with a colleague and just discussing very high level some of the concerns and questions. And these are the people who are doing the ongoing consultation. So you all have her card. If you have questions about Alto, please, and she will come to your municipality. Our office set up a meeting between Quinte West and these people directly. They can be reached and they're that accessible, so please avail yourself of that. I've got a quick statement here. Good morning, Mayor Ellis, members of council, staff members of the public and media. Thank you for the invitation to be here today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about one of the most pressing challenges facing communities across Canada, including here in Belleville, and that's housing and the broader social issues connected to it. As your former colleague, I know full well that housing affordability, homelessness, and access to appropriate supports are concerns that you, local agencies, and community organizations are working hard to address. Municipal governments and frontline service providers are dealing with these challenges every day, and I want to acknowledge the leadership and commitment this council has shown in working towards solutions that strengthen our community. Our government is here to work with you in that regard. So far this year, our government has invested $2.2 million in housing and homelessness programs in Belleville and Hastings County, and we're just getting started on that front. Last year, Belleville had a banner year when it came to federal investment, with more than $63.3 million directed towards affordable housing, infrastructure to support key housing initiatives, homelessness programs, supports for people with disabilities, seniors, transportation, and employment initiatives. And 2024 was no different. Our government is committed to building more housing, supporting our most vulnerable residents, and making life more affordable. Before I speak further about housing, I want to briefly acknowledge some of the correspondence included in your agenda today. I've had the opportunity to review these letters, and while I cannot speak to why the majority may have gone unanswered, as some people have frequently said when they email our office, MP Kramp will attest to the sheer volume of letters and emails we get in our office. I can speak to two that were directed to my office specifically concerning additional sports for veterans and via rail. With respect to our veterans and our men and women in uniform, I want to assure Council that our government remains firmly committed to ensuring they receive the supports and services they deserve. In fact, among every one of the several hundred constituency offices across Canada, representing every party and MP, ours right here in the Bay of Quinte is the only one to employ the services of a Canadian Armed Forces veteran whose duties are to solely support and help veterans with benefits and issues regarding their health and well-being. And Mayor Ellis, you'll well understand that because you were the MP who initiated that service. As for Via Rail, I've been very clear and very vocal in offering my support to maintain and enhance rail service in Belleville. Reliable passenger rail service is important for residents, businesses, and regional connectivity, and I will continue advocating to ensure our community remains well served in that regard. Turning back to housing, our federal government recognizes that municipalities cannot tackle these challenges alone. That's why we are working to ensure that cities like Belleville have access to the tools, partnerships, and funding needed to build more homes and strengthen community supports. A key part of that effort is making sure municipalities can access federal investments designed to increase the supply of affordable housing and support the infrastructure required to build complete communities. One important initiative moving forward is the new Build Communities Strong Fund, which is to provide $51 billion over 10, that's $51 billion over 10 years beginning in 2026-27. This fund is designed to help municipalities invest in the infrastructure and community supports needed to unlock housing, development, and build more affordable homes. Programs like this are about more than funding. They're about partnership. They're meant to help communities accelerate housing construction, support affordable housing projects, and ensure municipalities have the resources they need to respond to the realities they see on the ground. Our government is committed to making sure cities can take full advantage of these opportunities right now. That includes working closely with municipal leaders to identify priorities, develop strong applications, and align local strategies with available federal funding streams. And I want to underscore that on this slide that's here now. This was released literally last Wednesday. Minister Robertson outlined this to us. There are desks, especially on the direct delivery stream, which you will see in the second orange column. That's $6 billion of regionally significant projects, large building retrofits, climate adaptation, community infrastructure. We know we have a very serious, right here in Belleville, a very serious challenge in funding a new sanitary water treatment facility. This is perfect for that project. We have this funding stream wants to come online quickly. Our office is here to work with your municipal officials to get these applications in, get them properly targeted, and get them approved. You'll see at the bottom it says speed. Early announcements under direct delivery approval of health infrastructure priorities as well. So these are all areas that we can see immediate impact in the communities. I can't stress it enough. Please get your applications in. One of the reasons I'm grateful for the ongoing collaboration we have established with the city, and I'm pleased that we set up quarterly meetings with Mayor Neil Ellis, CAO Matt McDonald, so we can continue working together on housing and social challenges in a coordinated way. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow with the mayor and the CAO, and I'm meeting as well with Prince Edward County on Wednesday in that regard. I've already held a quarterly meeting with Quinte West Council. These are the collaborative meetings that we need to have these issues put on the table. These conversations matter because solutions require alignment across all orders of government. When municipalities, the federal government, and community partners work together, we can remove barriers, unlock investment, and move projects from ideas to construction. Our shared goal is clear: to get more homes built faster and to ensure they are affordable for people who live and work in this community. Housing is not just buildings, it's about stability for families, opportunity for young people, dignity for seniors, and stronger communities overall. When we build the housing people need, we strengthen the economic and social foundation of our city. Thank you again for the invitation to be here today and for the work you continue to do on behalf of our residents, and I look forward to continue our collaboration and working together to ensure our community can fully benefit from the federal investments available to help build the homes and supports people need. And once again, I'm as far away as a phone call, so call anytime. Thank you.
Thank you both for that. We'll put the questions up on the screen now. So to both MPs, we have the first 13 questions are Alto Rail questions. We'll have each question as they go up on the screen. Questions on the screen? Okay, by looking at these questions, I'm sure there's a lot that you'll answer questions moving through as we go that we might have to back up, or a lot of your answers might be very quick looking at these questions. So the first one's up on the screen. Everybody can read it. We've read our agendas, and I'll flip the floor to MP Kramp.
Sure. So first question, what do you expect the federal government's role will be? There's no question this has caused a lot of conversation and concern with good reason. I think that the role of the federal government should be continue to listen very clearly from the feedback coming along from the people that are on the proposed routes, and to cancel the current project as soon as they can. Ultimately, I will be opposing the project. Thank you.
Thank you. MP Mallette?
Thank you. What do you expect the federal government's role will be as the high-speed rail project proceeds? As MP Kramp just underlined, from every conversation, and I've had two to date with Alto representatives and our Ministry of Transportation people, is to listen. The Alto project, and I spoke with a gentleman in the audience who's convinced that this is all decided and it's done and it's all, the consultation process, I can assure you, is in fact just that. It's listening to people. I commented on our social media pages a couple of weeks ago that I myself don't have enough information at this point to formulate an opinion on the southern route in particular. I still don't. I want to hear what the residents are saying, and our role is to listen at this point. The current route, as I understand it, is between Montreal and Ottawa. Thank you. Montreal and Ottawa is the first planned installation, if you will, of this rail line. It's several years out from wherever and whatever iteration this will be, either through the northern route through our area or the southern route. And I'll admit, the southern route caught me off guard. I had no idea it was even on the table. So at this point, our role is very simply to listen. And that's what I'm assured by the folks from Alto, which is a Crown corporation, that's what they're doing at this point. And I encourage everyone and anyone, and as I've asked council, to please reach out to the representatives of Alto. They will sit down and have a meeting with you, all of council, and answer every one of the questions you have for me today. And I'm not making any excuses today, because I'm a member of Parliament of the government that has this as a Crown corporation, and the previous government has defined high-speed rail as a priority. That pretty much is my involvement at this stage. But again, back to our role: listen, formulate opinion, recommendations after listening. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Question 2. I will give this one, I'll start with MP Kramp.
Certainly. So before I arrived at my conclusion to oppose the project, it wasn't taken lightly. I met directly with Alto for a briefing in my office. I met and read feedback from thousands of people across the constituency. And the government has complete control over the communication. As Chris has noted, they created the Crown Corporation. Communication, from my perspective, from the government needs to be crystal clear. And by no means am I placing blame on Chris, but Minister McKinnon, from my perspective, has done an abysmal job of communicating to constituents. At committee, he had claimed that Alto is taking feedback, they're doing information sessions, they're getting information, but at any of the information sessions that I have attended, I have seen no example of actually recording information. It's been, no disrespect to the people that are working there, but there's been no recording of information from my lens. Minister McKinnon also claimed that expropriations were going to begin by year end, and I don't understand how they can suggest that, come to a decision on an actual route and start expropriations in such a short time, unless things have already been decided and these public information sessions are just being, a checkbox that they need to do. So a duty to consult, not consider, I think is problematic in this case.
Okay, MP Mallette.
Yeah, thank you. Again, what influence does the federal government have regarding what, when, and how communications about high-speed rail continues, and what influence will you be able to offer on behalf of your constituents? I am, as I outlined, a conduit for comments, concerns, questions in that regard. What influence does the federal government have? It's a Crown corporation. As MP Kramp pointed out, the federal transport minister, Mr. McKinnon, at the end can make recommendations and decisions. We seem to be circling back in almost all cases to the Expropriation Act, which is itself not part of Bill C-15, which was a bit of a misnomer, but it's a separate federal law that dates back to the 1970s. There have been changes made to it under Bill C-15, but everyone is fixated at this point, I think, on expropriation, and that seems, and quite rightly, to have people very much concerned. From my brief consultation with the folks from Community Relations with Alto, is that while that remains the ultimate possibility, that isn't where the starting point is. They're not proceeding with a proposal to go ahead and expropriate and then possibly negotiate afterwards. It's the other way around from what I'm told. So my duty as on behalf of constituents, although none of this, and I should point this out, but it's not an excuse in any way. None of this, or very little of this, there's a sliver of the Bay of Quinte riding that is affected by the route. That said, as a government MP, I feel it's my responsibility to listen to the people in our region, and that's what I plan to do. So I can offer their concerns. I will be meeting with our counterparts when I get back to Ottawa next week after this constituency week. I'm very much going to share what happens here, what is said here today with them. That's my role.
Okay, question 3 I think has been answered, but if you just want to add to that, I guess, and we'll start with, oh, did I miss you, Shelby?
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
We're good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, bottom line is that I will fight tooth and nail on this. The cancellation of this project, I think, is very necessary, and in the coming weeks, you can anticipate additional voices and comments from our office.
Okay, Councilor Mallette, or Councilor Mallette, MP Mallette.
I know we're out here.
We should have moved you up the other chair.
Yeah. So are we on question 3? Is that where we
Yeah,
are?
and I think you pretty well answered it. But
Given the
just have-
feedback, yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty much the same, yeah.
I was going to do them all at the end on Alto because they're all very similar in a sense. Okay. Question 4, we'll go with Chris on this one first, or MP Mallette.
Okay, so the question is, as the Alto Fields studies, budgets, and communications originally focused on the northern corridor between 2020 and 2025, and I note this has been in consideration since for the last 5 years at least. Why was the southern corridor added sometime in late December 2025 and early January 2026? These are precisely the questions I asked, and the answer I was given was that it was, let me see if this is phrased correctly, that they believed there were ease of route for the southern route, and I was as surprised, as I said, as anyone to see that the southern route had been added. They talked about some challenges with the northern route vis-a-vis the Canadian Shield and some of the areas they would have to proceed through. And when it came right down to it, I understand, and again, I'm telling you what the Alto folks have told me, and I think they have said at public consultations, the southern route was added because of the topography of the route, simply the fact that it's a straighter, flatter, it's not so much straighter, but it's a flatter, easier route in terms of the physical construction of it. That is all I've been told at this point. And again, when I first saw it, I went, why is that road even added to it? It just caught us all off guard. And as we can see the numbers of people that are here today and the people who have written to our office, the concerns about that going through prime agricultural land, through much more developed areas are pronounced. And I hear that, as does Alto from what I'm told. But that's where it's at. Other than that, I don't have a lot of explanation as to why it was added. Again, I'm a little late to this game, but the southern corridor for that reason was what was told to me, so.
MP Kramp, did you want to add to that, or?
Sure. I have concern with them adding either route, but bottom line, there's been zero input from communities, there's been zero input from opposition. It's certainly a question that the government itself and Alta would have to answer.
No. Okay, thank you. Question 5. Straightforward. MP Mallette?
Well, in an answer, are you expecting the same level of due diligence will be conducted for the southern corridor before the next phase? The reduction in the corridor width is announced later this year. Absolutely. And I will not only expect, I'll demand that level of due diligence is done as the MP for this area, as the member of government that's proposing this proposal.
Okay, MP Kramp, did you want to add to that?
I think I'm quite consistent with the level of opposition against this. Any future phases would be indifferent than anything I've already said.
Okay, question 6. And I think this is a one, Chris, that you can start with, but.
Yeah, I'm quite simply going to say I'm going to have to sit this one. I have zero information on the electrical component of the project. Again, perhaps Ms. Young, the Senior Advisor of Community Relations, can explain it. 500 megawatts per day, and we'll need 15 to 17 substations to service. I know little to nothing of the technical requirements of this project, so I'm going to have to pass on that, and hopefully, if we need answers on that, again, maybe the Alto Community Relations people can answer that, but I certainly can't.
Yeah, you could set a meeting up like you did in Quinte West for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Young has indicated to us that if you need us to help facilitate a meeting between the municipality, those are questions that can be answered.
Well, it's a technical question that you can answer. Same. Did you want to comment on that? Or?
Yeah, I'll comment briefly. I'd like to also share that indeed, I'm not just against this because I'm against it. I'm an advocate and in favor of development, of advancing infrastructure. I'm a proponent of national building projects. But if, a big if, this were to ever move forward, then the necessity of fair and open procurement deals would need to happen. But again, I don't even like to talk about that if this happens. Thank you.
Okay, question 8. It's a quick one then. I'll start with MP Mallette.
Question 7. While municipalities...
Pardon me.
Sorry?
7, yeah.
Yeah. While municipalities have virtually no role in the determination of Alto high-speed rail, but will have municipal resources and taxations affected, what will you be doing to provide municipalities a bigger voice? Again, going back to Quinte West has reached out to us, and we were able to facilitate a meeting for their team. My best suggestion is to do this for Belleville, and you can advocate bigger voice right at the table with Ms. Young and directly register your concerns or your questions directly. And that's about all I can tell you on that. Yeah.
Okay. MP Kramp?
Happy to share that I will continue doing what I'm currently doing, and that's loudly speaking against this and bringing those concerns, not just within our own party, because we're having conversations against this as well. This is not just an Ontario concern. This is something that will impact all Canadians, because ultimately it's taxpayers at the bite here. Nonetheless, it's also incumbent of me to continue to have dialogue with the government on this one.
Okay, thank you. Question 8, MP Mallette.
Okay, over the coming months, to ensure your constituents are afforded better and timely information and alleviate their fears and concerns. We're sharing the information as it's shared with us, but I'm circling back to the fact that the community consultation sessions, and I'm assured that the ones that are scheduled now, if there is demand, there can be more added, they're telling me. I think that's the best way for people to attend these sessions. Talk to the people directly from Alto. You know, that seems to be the best way to get the concerns and these fears that are developing addressed. Is to simply reach out, attend the sessions, ask those questions firsthand, and you know, hopefully we'll get more clarity on the matter.
Okay, thank you. Next 4 questions, and MP Mallette touched on it, but we'll dive into it a bit, is the Expropriation Act, Bill C-15. If you want to start off with this, MP Mallette. Okay, as I pointed out, the Expropriation Act itself is not part of Bill C-15. It's a separate federal law dating back to the 70s, and what Bill C-15 does is makes targeted updates to certain provisions to reflect the nature of high-speed rail. It aligns with federal procedures more closely in modern provincial legislation. For example, communication by email with those who consent with a expropriation, but as I'm told, the inclusion of the Expropriation Act in Bill C-15, it remains a part of the negotiation that is the last step, as I said. What's been expressed to me by anyone from Alto is that they will work in good faith negotiation in any land that needs to be acquired for what ultimately is a very narrow corridor. From what I understand, it's several dozen meters at best. Public hearing process, the traditional hearing process, is being removed because the project is not a localized project. You have public hearings in municipalities where, say, the city of Belleville wants to expropriate X amount of land. This is a national project, and public hearings sectioned along the route, as I'm told to understand, is been removed because it's a national project. Potentially thousands of impacted parcels. Holding hearings for every objection would cost an estimated $5 billion per year and significantly delay or jeopardize the project. Okay, did you want to add to this, MP Kramp?
I'd be happy to, actually. The question on question 9 was, do you support the inclusion of the Expropriation Act as written in Bill C-15? I do not. There was a vote in the House of Commons. I voted both against C-15, and I also stood in the House of Commons and voted in favor of the Bloc Québécois amendment that specifically sought to remove Section 191 of C-15, which would have completely removed that provision from the budget, and it also would have allowed any individuals who were supportive of the budget but against this particular element to then vote on the budget in good faith. So it put you in a tricky spot, Chris. Unfortunately, despite a lot of conversations that I had with members of the government, every single Liberal, NDP, Green member voted against that carve-out. So that was the disappointing number that it was defeated 155 to 176. So no, I do not support it.
Okay, thank you. Question 10, I'll go with this, MP Mallette.
Quite simply, why do you believe the Expropriation Act amendments are necessary if the Alto project has so many, quote, benefits for our GDP and people across Canada? For the aforementioned reasons in the legislation, it's simply a matter of it's an unwieldy process if the Expropriation Act wasn't altered in this respect. Ultimately, landowners will still retain the right to challenge expropriations in court, and the government covers these costs. So, you know, as much as everybody is fixating on expropriation in almost every case, the way I'm told that it will proceed is negotiation at all costs, expropriation as a final resort. And when it is an expropriation involved, it's still appealable in court, and the government will cover those costs. So.
Okay, MP Kramp?
Yes, if we're talking about benefits, question 10, right? If we're talking about benefits being substantial or benefits for our GDP and people across Canada, I think if you asked people that are, learning that their land may very well be expropriated or whatever the issue, whether it's emergency vehicle access, whether it's school bus access, there's a plethora of different concerns as to why these benefits are not there. But ultimately, I think that perhaps the benefits, because they're not substantial, I think that Alto knew that they were going to face stiff opposition, and they wanted to get this project through as quickly as possible. So of course they're going to say there's benefits, but for those that are affected, clearly oppose.
Okay, question 11.
Can I just circle back on 10? The project's expected to generate up to $35 billion ultimately when complete in gross domestic product and create over 50,000 jobs across the corridor. I was given an example of for some of the smaller municipalities along the way, while and when the project is being built, there will be, quote, there will be staging areas where construction, as you well know, in major projects like this, staging areas for the construction that will be part of the acquisition of land for this project. Well, as the project moves on and is completed, those staging areas will be turned over to the municipalities along the route for use however they like, recreational lands, that sort of thing. And Alto, as I'm told, will help and possibly make donations for the municipalities in those routes for some of these recreational areas. So it's something to be considered when you talk about benefits. Construction work will rely heavily on local workers and contractors. So wherever and whenever, that's another benefit. So.
Okay, question 11 basically is what the influence will Alto feedback and these types of organizations have on the Expropriation Act. Shelby, we'll start with you.
I think the question begs is what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The feedback is being considered after the legislation has already passed.
Okay, Councillor or MP Mallette?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm told Alto is regularly meeting with farmers associations, and the Minister of Transport has been clear that the project will aim to minimize the impact on agricultural lands wherever possible, and that's a stated priority for the project, as I'm told.
Okay, question 12 is similar. MP Kramp?
It's consistent with what I've been suggesting, so I'll pass it for now.
Okay, MP Mallette?
I should point out that in terms of what access, or I have a direct line to the Minister of Transport's office. I will be meeting with Steve McKinnon, as a matter of fact, when we return next week. There's a meeting between myself and several others just to discuss this as a result of some of the discussions that have taken place. And as we see along the line, in some areas such as Kingston, they're very much supportive if they get a stop in their area. Likewise, Brockville, I believe, is opposed. Certain areas are in favor if they get, I believe MP Kramp's own municipality, Senator Hastings, is on record as being supportive if they get a stop. I don't know. So these are all variables that are happening right now. The ministry has indicated they're very open to connecting directly with municipalities. So again, if there are municipal concerns, reach out directly to the Ministry of Transport, and my office can help coordinate that.
Okay, question 13 is pretty easy. MP Kramp?
Certainly. I will continue to do everything I can to ensure that the voices of Hastings, Lennox, Addington, Tyendinaga, and that of Bay of Quinte are heard. I know that last week our team, my office team, tried to start a process as to see how we can use a private member's legislation to even consider scrapping the act that was created under Section 191 of C15. Parliament, as everyone is around the table is aware, Parliament can create it, but Parliament can ultimately stop it as well. We have that power.
Okay, thank you. We'll just open it up for questions, not comments on the floor here. We're going to be running tight for time. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you both for your commentary today about Alto. I represent Ward 2, which is considerably, significantly affected even in this first purple swath of a southern corridor. And I call it that intentionally because there was no warning. It suddenly appeared in January, and it is this wide swath of properties. I have attended virtual sessions. I have attended in-person sessions. I have followed virtually every Facebook post ever made known to man. And the feedback is the same, is that I don't know that people are necessarily opposed to high-speed rail. They are opposed to how it is being implemented across the board in the Southern Corridor, my concern, but both. A term was used in the Kingston Whig that a newspaper reporter went and attended one of the sessions, the in-person session up in Madoc, and walked away from it. And what he referred to it as, he or she, I apologize, was it's like doing a timeshare sales pitch. That you go in, I think, Shelby, your observation was there was nobody taking any notes of the concerns that were being expressed. That the feedback that when people posed really good questions, well, Chris is suggesting it's largely around expropriation, and I appreciate people's concerns. It was also about jobs, how many permanent, how many part-time, where were they going to be? It was about the electricity. It was about the cost of the project that is currently forecast to be in the $90 billion range, billion with a B. And we all fully expect, because we know how these things go, that it's going to be considerably larger on the backs of the taxpayers. So I think it's fair to say that what I'm trying to convey through these questions that I've posed for you is that Alto is doing what they're calling public consultation. With all due respect, it's not public consultation. It is telling us what they're going to do without any technical specs, without any cost allocation, without any jobs, without addressing what's going on with the electricity, and quite frankly, is not alleviating people's fears, but in fact, stoking them. So therein lies why we are asking from the federal government, what can you do to support us in being able to articulate that message to Alto? It is, as Christy pointed out, it's a crown corporation. It is under the guise of the federal government. So we need help from the federal government in saying, do something that will start alleviating some of these concerns. Okay. I appreciate there's an education that needs to go with this, hence why I've spent as much time, and trust me, I have been to every inch and quarter of Alto's website, and then some. It is all about how do you represent the constituent's voice that is being stoked with fears and concerns by the lack of information. It's preliminary. I've done enough big programs in my lifetime to know how these things work. Was it premature to be coming out and consulting, which is not consulting? It is simply giving people an opportunity to vent, and they walk away from
Councillor Brown, sorry, we got to get to questions. We're going to be tight for time here.
So my question to you is, I'm going to go back to one of my questions, which is, how do you actually articulate and be able to represent your residents' voice more diligently with the Minister of Transport?
Councillor Mallette, and then we'll go to Councillor Kramp.
Okay, well, as I pointed out, literally, I believe a week today or a week tomorrow, I will be sitting down with Minister McKinnon.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
I will. Too many on the circuit. I remember that from my days around this horseshoe. I'll start again. As I'll reiterate my statement just a little while ago that I will be literally meeting within the next week or so with Mr. McKinnon, with officials. I'm going to, all I can do, and that's my role, and that is my fundamental role as your member of parliament, is to pass on those concerns to the minister. I'm sure they hear it. They hear it from my esteemed colleague, the opposition, the fears. This is our role to pass that along to them, that they, the process as it's being seen here, out in it's easy when you're in the bubble in Ottawa. You make the decisions, you hand it down, you say send out the PR teams to smooth it over, if you will. But what we're seeing here is the actual raw emotion and the concerns. And that's my role and my job as a government MP to bring those concerns directly to the minister. And all I can do is give you my honest and heartfelt commitment to do so.
Shelby?
There's no doubt this is a very serious rural issue primarily right now. And constituents are upset with good reason. These are not just fears, these are facts. So at this point, as a parliamentarian, it is necessary that I continue to put public pressure and advocate and be the voice. We have petitions going. It's, like I said earlier, incumbent of me to continue to have dialogue with the government on this. Just because I'm in opposition doesn't mean that I sit back and let things go. By no means am I, or will I ever be, or have I ever been a wallflower. So I'll make sure that I will continue to advocate for everyone that is having concerns.
Okay. I just asked council questions. If you have any questions, Councillor Thompson?
Just quickly, is either one of you in favor of high-speed rail? And if it was, is there a Pacific area that you would want it to go? First of all, are you in favor of high-speed rail on the corridor they're talking about, wherever it be?
Okay, if we can make this quick, Councillor Kramp, sorry. We'll go with Councillor Kramp, MP Kramp. You were a councillor too, so both of you were.
I'm in favor of improved rail corridor or rail service. I'm not in favor of high-speed rail as it is. If there was any consideration, be mindful of existing corridors that are present, how we can improve those. But with a $90 billion project, and that only being a fraction of it, to look at what they're entertaining right now is dead wrong.
MP Mallette?
I support high-speed rail. Fundamentally, I believe that a developed country like Canada ought to have some form, especially in our most built-up areas, high-speed rail. I would like to see more consultation for the routes, and given in our region, I had always thought that the Highway 7 corridor early on, I think it goes back to 2020 was when it first was discussed. I didn't hear any of these concerns in 2020 when there was discussion to bring a high-speed rail line along Highway 7. So I'm assuming that at that time, if that was a preferred route and it seemed to be less intrusive, that would have been the preferred route, and that was what I understood. That's why I was surprised, Councillor Thompson, as most were, to see the southern route added. At this stage, again, I don't know where I come down on that.
Okay, Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, through your worship. So just a quick comment and then a quick question. I certainly hear what you're saying about the expropriation, and I think about people with generations of land, and you're going to put a rail through that, and not only is it something that money can't buy, this generational, land that's being passed down, but also the effect on the resale value of a property that might be divided by this. So that's just my comment on it. But my question really is this. MP Kramp-Neuman clearly stated that she is objecting to this rail. But I want to ask you personally, are you prepared today to take a firm position if they were to bring this high-speed rail through the southern corridor? Are you prepared to say today what your position is on it?
Okay, MP Mallette?
And this is by no means, Councillor Henderson, an out, but I haven't heard all of the consultation and on all of the I do not know enough at this point to formulate an honest answer in that regard. And I'm being absolutely brutally honest on that with the southern route, and it'll probably get me in Dutch with my minister because I'm expected to follow this regardless of the process. But I'm going to tell you right now, I honestly do not. I want to hear the rest of the consultation. Some of the people here that I just spoke to briefly believe that we've already made up our minds on this. And I can honestly tell you, if that's the case, I haven't got the memo. So I want to see more consultation. I want to see more robust consultation. I want to see all the answers, such as Councillor Brown has enunciated. I want to see all of that before I even begin to formulate a response to that.
Thank you both for your honesty. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a break for 5 minutes exactly because we're going to be tight for time, bathroom break, and then we'll go to the homeless questions. Thank you. Okay, we go through a lot of these questions, and I think a lot of them are questions that, Chris, you've answered in your other form, but we'll take them one by one, and the first one's up on the screen. So, Chris, we'll turn it over to you.
The lack of federal funding in areas of homelessness and social housing places, but, the preamble to that question is pretty much, and I don't want to say that it's misleading, but it presupposes that there is a lack of federal funding in the areas of homelessness and social housing. 63.3 million in 2025 would put the lie to that statement, I would suggest. And, the question at the end is, do you agree that federal and provincial governments are best levels of government to robustly fund these areas? My answer quite simply is yes, and we have, and we will continue, but we have to do it in such a manner that it's properly targeted. So I'm a little bit at a loss to understand the basis of that question. So we are funding it, and we will continue to fund it, but we need to do so in partnership with in our case, Hastings County, which, as we know, is the upper tier municipality that is implementing these programs, and we're happy to work with both the City of Belleville and Hastings County to further better target some of those funds.
Yeah, and I just want to note your funding for the Heart Hub for the renovation, that was federal only, and thank you for that. MP Kramp.
Thank you, Your Worship. Indeed, I agree with MP Mallette on this. I think it's important that municipalities work in tandem with other levels of government as well, but we need to be mindful of is, yes, announcements for funding, for what have you, social programming, homelessness is welcome always, but the importance of spending that envelope is also very important. I'm just curious if there's any current, is there anything that's funding that's going to expire, where the city is with that? Because announcements are always welcome and awesome, but I think it's really important that regardless of the portfolio, this may be one of them. If there's ever funding that expires, that would be where a concern would be.
Yes, quick.
So I can respond to that, Shelby. A great deal of it, the what's called OFI and COCHI funding. Oh, that's right. The OFI and COCHI funding that currently addressing social housing expires on March 31st, 2026, the end of this month. The federal funding for Reaching Home expires March 31st, 2028. And the Veterans Homelessness Program and the Homelessness Reduction Innovation Fund ends December 31st, 2028.
But this would be Hastings County, correct? If I'm
These are
from your
Hastings
meetings, yeah.
County
Okay,
numbers. They
so
were
we'd have to
provided by.
advocate through Hastings County. But okay,
If I may, Your Worship, some of those questions are, question 17 relates to National Housing Strategy and OFI, so I have some
we'll touch base on
information.
that. MP Mallette.
I'm sorry, we're still on 16? 15. Okay, Hastings County has, as we know, an excellent relationship with the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness. And I can tell you right now that just in the past year, there's been a $1 billion commitment to the Reaching Home program, as well as, income tax breaks in July of 2025 under our budget. Ongoing funding, the city has to apply for these, and the municipalities need to apply for these funding streams. And as I said, we have the applications, we have the funding streams that just opened. I urge you to submit those applications on behalf of the city and the county, and we will help make them happen.
I can take a quick snap at 15. I think that, with all due respect, commitment is irrelevant. We're all committed. We all have ideas and plans, but ultimately the proof is in the pudding when it comes to funding.
Question 16, MP Mallette.
Okay, thank you. Homelessness continues to increase in the city of Belleville. Funding under Reaching Home Canada's homelessness strategy is not increased to meet community needs. What steps will you take to increase funding for our most vulnerable citizens? Again, apply for the programs that are recently announced. Under the latest housing streams or funding streams, we have Homelessness Reduction Innovation Fund is still providing funds. Reaching Home is still providing funds. We need to, again, speed up the applications, get the applications in. The funds on these, as Councillor Brown had pointed out, some of these are sunsetting. But they're not doing so in a vacuum, I guess is my point. They're not being replaced by programs that are coming on stream. So while some of these are sunsetting, there are programs and funding in place that will be coming forward.
MP Cramp.
Yeah, I've spoken to Councillor Carr on this several times, and I think that we have to recognize, like, the one question is, what do you think is an acceptable level of funding to truly address homelessness? And is there really an answer to an acceptable, like, there's no real answer to an acceptable level. From my perspective, whatever it takes to turn homelessness around, we're in a really hard spot. But I think this is a really good question that we could ask specifically to the minister, if you could have that conversation, and because they ultimately decided that Belleville was not a candidate for increased funding when it came to this. So I personally would be happy to work directly with you and with your provincial counterpart, with Rick, and all of this entire council to see how we can further address this, because it's not going away. And again, we can announce, we can talk, but unless we actually follow through, it's not happening.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, further to that, sorry, thanks, Your Worship. I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague, MP Cramp. We will work collaboratively. We have shown that has worked in the past, especially with our provincial partners. We see that with the bridge facility. We need to keep doing that. Hastings County is on record as saying a figure that they need is somewhere in the neighborhood of $23 million. I believe the county is on record for that. Correct? Yes. So with these funding numbers, at least in focus, this is where we can rise up to meet that demand by getting the applications in and hopefully targeting that, and again working collaboratively across all municipal levels and provincial levels to get the projects underway that are needed. Because every day we delay on the homeless front is another day where someone unfortunately could possibly die on our streets, or businesses are affected, tourism is affected, quality of life in some of our neighborhoods is affected. This is something that's an all hands on deck emergency, and I think, again, collaborative effort is the only way we can go. But we have a number, 23 million. It's a bit of an eye-watering figure when you consider all the other demands on our social services, but it's at least we've got a target.
Okay, thank you. Question 17. I'll start with MP Cramp.
Yeah, I think it's important for the opposition to continue to put pressure on the government to perhaps there's a way to create some kind of bridge programming to make sure that the initiatives aren't coming to a complete halt and that there's movement. So the bridge programming, I think, would be something that could be entertained.
Okay, MP Mallette.
Thank you. I'll reiterate the fact that new programs are in place, and they're included in our new budget. Build Community Strong Fund, for instance, is outlined. There's $5.1 billion in that respect. Build Canada Homes itself has a $1 billion tranche for transitional housing. And this is incredibly important for agencies such as the Enrichment Center, even Hastings County, if it wants to begin some further commitments to transitional housing. But new budgets come with different funding programs. And just because, again, I'll go back to the prior statement, because things like OFI and the National Housing Strategy that are sunsetting, they're being replaced and updated with some of the other initiatives that are included in the last federal budget.
Thank you. Question 18, very simple, short windows. MP Kramp?
Yeah, I think the answer to this is longer funding periods. 2 to 4 years is tricky, especially for a lot of municipal councils. I think, again, continuing to advocate for longer funding periods would be the solution here.
Okay, MP Mallette?
Yeah, sure, short funding windows are challenging, 2 to 4 years, but because when you're budgeting, and you understand this, and people around this table understand this, plans and spending need to be reassessed and reevaluated. A 4-year window is probably at the outset as much as you can when we're talking some of the changes in the variables, especially when we're talking social housing and social services. These demands, 4 years ago, did we know that we were going to be facing an opioid crisis on the streets of Belleville and a declared emergency by the mayor? No. So this is why we need to readapt and reassess regularly. I don't think it's a herky-jerky kind of a situation. I think it's just good budget planning.
Okay, question 19, again about funding, and you've spoke about this a lot. MP Mallette, did you want to add to this?
No, actually, I think it's been answered back when we had question 16.
Yeah. Your mic's not on, sorry.
Sorry, yes, I think it goes back to question 16. What steps are you taking to increase funding for the most vulnerable? Apply. Those programs are out there. So again, Hastings County's identified 23 million. We do have a target. Let's try and hit it.
Okay, did you want to touch on that, MP Kramp?
Yeah, just briefly. I think you have to recognize, and many of you have heard me say this before, but you have to know when to take your partisan hat on and off. And with this regard, we, I think, should pose the question, why is this happening? How do we get here? And very simply, how do we move forward? And if you look back over the last 10 years and the issues that are a lot of Canadians are enduring right now, we have to ask those hard questions and not just talk about how we fix it, but actually, as legislators, bring legislation forward to fix it.
Okay, thank you. Question 20. It's the same as 19, I believe, isn't that? Yeah.
It really is a repeat.
Questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think going back to the first question that was posed about it says lack, but I think it is the limited. Currently in Hastings County, and by and large in the Belleville area, we currently have 1,471 social housing units. Average age of those is about 45 years old, therefore it's consuming a lot of the dollars that are being made available to us. We currently have a wait list of 3,800 families, not individuals, families, which would, at like 2.2 people per, it's not hard to do the math. The federal block funding ends this year, and it's been steadily decreasing since 2023. CMHC funding has equally been diminishing since 2023. Hastings County provided the numbers, so we would have them. Happy to share those numbers, by the way. My question to you is, by and large, a number of the housing programs there are to facilitate housing growth, but not necessarily through our service managers as it addresses the social housing component. And I think your observation is what's contributing to homelessness is we have many people on the precipice of homelessness. They are barely hanging on, and social housing would be one way to address that. So I think it still begs the question, federally, and I respect that same question is going to be posed provincially, by the way, with our MPPs. But federally, what can we do to address the shortage of social housing and the ability, the capital dollars to facilitate building more of that social housing so that we can take those people off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, I think there's a vicious circle right now for the vulnerable. And a wait time, for example, of 7 to 10 years for social housing is disturbing, at the least. But regardless the level of government, we need to step up because there's several factors that are attributing to why. We could be here for another 2 hours speaking about that, and I would be happy to. But at this point, no, the government needs to step up, and I'm going to put this back on Chris. Thank you.
Okay,
I think, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Shelby, for it's a shared observation for sure. This has been a vexing issue, and I, as a former chair of the Community and Human Services Committee for the county, I saw it and I lived it in my time representing the city of Belleville on Hastings County committees. We need to stress that we have to get back to what is the core problem is there doesn't seem to be a coordinated effort from all levels of government. The county is expressing in pronounced terms every year loudly the need. We need to get the federal and the provincial governments to sit down together. And you know what, I don't think we could find a better time right now than seemingly we have some consensus between our provincial government right now and our federal government. These are issues that, you know what, maybe they can get together and show a little goodwill at the municipal level and come up with solutions and some sort of working framework to address these issues. And that's, I think, because, Councillor Brown, we're talking about such substantial amounts of money, and it is a huge effort. Those are big numbers. The costs of renovating the existing housing stock alone, as we know, is a spectacularly large number, and it's a troublingly large number because the money just hasn't been there over the years. The only way we're going to make that work is a collaborative effort between federal and provincial, and as I said, if never a better time, now is it. So,
Councillor Thompson?
It has something to do with housing, but not, where are the governments, both federal and provincial, going to deal with the situation with drug addiction and mental health? If we don't deal with both of those, we can fight homelessness till the cows come home. But right now, I don't see any direction that either government is working to try. We did away with hospitals that dealt with mental issues years ago. And is this government willing to work or start talking about it with the provincial government to deal with the drug and the mental health issues that is causing the homelessness?
MP Mallette?
well, we're always willing to talk, Councillor Thompson, with our provincial counterparts, but in terms of a strategy, unless, unless the province clearly articulates a strategy, and in your case, I know from speaking with you over the last several years on this issue, that you are very much in favor, as you said, and there's a growing number of people. There are several provincial entities that are BC, for one, is looking at involuntary treatments. It's a political minefield, unfortunately, for people, for governments to want to walk down. Reintroducing institutional care for those who don't, who by choice don't want to take part. Building those institutions, staffing those institutions. So it's a multi-pronged, very, very tough nut to crack, if you will. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the discussion. And you know what? I regardless of where I come down on it, I'm in favor of opening those discussions and having them between the federal health ministry and the provincial counterparts and see where it goes.
MP Cramp?
As conservatives, as opposition, certainly against safe injection sites, drug consumption sites, whatever you may call them, focused on recovery, a recovery-focused approach, whether that's with treatment, recovery, different approaches for law enforcement, detox programs, residential rehab. There's a lot of different options, but that's a hard, necessary conversation that has to be had because lives are being threatened. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, through you. Just a bit of a comment here. So regarding homelessness, we can focus on what we need here locally, 23 million, and we'll gladly take it. If you want to give it to us, we'll take it. We need it. But that is not going to solve the problem unless we have more of a systematic approach across the province and the country. Because what we'll see is, and I've said this many times, many disagree, we will see migration. If we solve our problem here, we'll see migration from other areas unless there's a more measured, systematic approach. And, I would love to see change to start right here with you both, committing to a strategic framework and an effective one that solves not only our issue, but it can become a model for other communities. So I'd love to see that. And you've both said here today that you're very collaborative, and I believe that. And I'd like to see it start right here. And from there, it can branch out. And I would also like to see you sit down with the MPPs as well, if you could collaboratively get together. I know you have two different governments, and I understand that, but I think if we could start here and build an acceptable framework, we could actually solve this problem.
Well, if I may, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Henderson, we do have a good working relationship with our provincial counterparts right now. I think we're in an enviable position, myself and MP Kramp with Mr. Brisé and Mr. Alsop, is that we all talk. But you know what? We don't have a formal such as this where we bring everybody together, we fill the press table, and then we have that talk. We have these talks at a much more direct level, quietly behind, not cooking anything up behind closed doors. But those discussions do happen. And when one of our ministries or one of our party policies say, hey, listen, can we get together on this? Those discussions do happen. And in this case, I think you're bang on. It is a good idea to maybe, facilitate some kind of a get together saying, hey, let's put our hats together, see what our respective governments are willing to even entertain and go from there. Because again,
Questions?
as I said earlier, collaboration is the key.
Councillor?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thanks for coming this morning, MPs. I appreciate the conversation, and I'll just set it up, and then I'll ask you directly to get some of your own thoughts. So the first words out of MP Kramp today, your first word was affordability, and bang on. So as a councillor in the conversations I have throughout the city and how I live my own life, interest rates. So I just did a deal last week, 3.9 over 5. My mortgage has gone up $430 a month. Taxes are up, home costs are up, gas, food, garbage bag tags. I have a daughter in university, and the provincial government's talking about changes to OSAP. So these are real things that hit our families in our municipality every day. So we talked about housing today. 9 to 10 years, Hastings County, for folks to get into a home. They're 50 years old. I've been in those homes. They need a lot of work. And as MP Mallette said, it's very costly to constantly doing reconstruction in there. So affordability, daycare changes in, and we've been hearing this from the feds and the province that daycare, I hear that from young families, they can't get daycare in Belleville. and the $10 a day. These are real issues. We spent half the morning talking about Alto and forgetting about what everybody goes into or deals with on a daily basis. So where does MP Mallette and where does MP Kramp give us your report of the lay of the land, how you see our people living in your ridings today? Because there's so many challenges. And enough about Alto, because we'll wait to hear more about that in the coming months.
MP Kramp?
You're bang on. There's no question. Every single conversation I have, affordability does come up. It's the bread and butter issues that focus on their people's back pockets. There's not much in people's back pockets right now. Gas, grocery prices, housing costs. There's people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and people are getting more comfortable with debt. And credit card limits are like, the stories and the hardship that we hear is, okay, so we're hearing all this. People are in really rough shape. This is what people are talking about. We've had some drama on Parliament Hill the last couple of weeks, and from my perspective, that should not be the focus of who's crossing or who's not. The focus is how people are barely getting by. So how do we fix it? As opposition, we have, over the last several years, brought forward different pieces of legislation. We saw some movement on the carbon tax after we talked about it for years. Now the industrial carbon tax would be another option to help with gas prices if we want to get specific. There are legislative ways to help mend this, but right now that is a major concern. Homelessness is at an all-time high. People are at food banks. This is certainly not the Canada that I grew up in, nor is it one that I want to retire in. But this isn't about me or all of you around the table. We have a duty to step up and make legislative changes. If as a parliamentarian, I didn't have some kind of optimism that I could do something about it, it would be really frustrating. But we can. We really can. So we can talk all we want about what's gone wrong, what terrible shape people are in right now, but the reality is how do we fix it? And this is where legislatively there are levers that we can pull to make this better. We're in a eve of, we have a unique situation in Ottawa right now, but there's actions that can be taken. We all want a better Canada. We certainly clearly have a different ideology on how we're going to get there.
Thank you. MP Mallette?
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what my colleague has just outlined. Thanks for the points, Councillor Kelly. We as a government, I believe, are always on the back foot in terms of being addressing the issues with world impacts. To be quite frank, we haven't really fully recovered from the effects of the pandemic some 5-6 years ago. The rippling effects of that and the economies that were upended, the supply chain issues that were accentuated on that. It's not an excuse. We're trying right now to address these issues, and as a government, we can, we've given tax breaks to first-time home buyers, that sort of thing. We've implemented food security programs for schools that are very popular and very much utilized. But the core issue of the need for people to have to access those programs is what we're trying to get at. And it is a vexing issue that's going to take, and as MP Kramp said, we have the levers to do that. We can do that at committee. We have shown, there are glimmers of hope, let's say, that there are cooperative rumblings between our parties as we go forward. We have to get a grip on this. We have to wrestle that bear to the ground, and we're not throwing good money after bad in some of the programs that we've established, but it's a very large issue, and we're going to see, unfortunately, with the conflict in the Middle East right now, we're going to see more pressure. We're going to see more pressure on the Canadian dollar, on the Canadian homeowner and residents' ability to put food on the table and gas in the tank as a result. It's not going to get easier. this comes back to what I said earlier, that we need a collaborative approach to try and find solutions, so.
Councilor Enright Miller?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the answers. Sorry I was late, everyone. To Councillor Kelly's point, all of these issues are right at the forefront for all of us, and I know that you both take them to heart. I'm thrilled that right now there's a collaboration between the two sides. What's happening now in our world is not something that should be split. We should all be working together, and I'm very happy to hear that you both are working together, and we're fortunate enough to have you both here on opposite sides of the aisle to work for us. And I think Canada and this government needs to come together in a time now that is more important than ever. And we all need to know what the issues are. And just back on the homelessness issue, it's great that you will be speaking about this, but can we have sort of a commitment that we're going to take it even further from today's discussion and come up with a plan? The money is all well and great, but it needs to be utilized in the proper way. And there has to be some other areas that have conquered this beast that we can look at to kind of formulate and image to what we need it to do. Because as it continues, the money can be spent, and the problem's just going to keep growing. It's going to be like a wheel out of control. So if we can have a commitment that we can regroup on this issue, and you can work together from both sides of the fence and bring in whoever you need to bring in to see if we can make a dent in this issue. Thank you.
Pretty simple yes answer, right?
Oh, absolutely, and you know, I think, I don't want to speak for MP Kramp, but anytime I'm willing to, if we want to have another smaller working group on how to come up with some localized solutions to these, I'm all for it. Bring our friends from Hastings County on board, or bring them in, as well as Prince Edward County. I mean, they have the same issues. Bring a round table together and see what we can hammer out. I can take it back to government with the help of MP Kramp, and you know, let's try and localize. Yeah, as you say, Councillor Enright Miller, it's easy to have a bucket of money and say that's the solution, but if it's not properly applied, it's not much help.
Okay. MP Kramp, did you want to just add to that? I guess it's ditto.
Yeah, I think so, but I think we can also learn from example as well, to your point. Belleville is not unique to this situation. This is a situation that is facing many Canadians, and there's a lot of, from the homelessness perspective, a lot of cities that have figured it out. So looking at best practices from that, from an affordability standpoint, and how we collectively come to head on this. Look, folks, this is legislatively. Yes, we can attest that there's some global geopolitical issues right now. But this has been a growing issue for years. This is not new. So legislatively, we can clearly, there are clearly fixes for this. They just need to be completed. Thank you.
Okay, next question is about the bear. And Chris, Councillor or MP Mallette, I'll get this right by the end of the meeting. You do have a file on this, because I know you attended AMO, Roma, Ogra, that we had meetings with Minister Maroney was first, I believe. And you and I have spoken about this since you've been in also. So I guess I'll just flip over the question on this is the arterial road. But first of all, we've got to get approval for the bear to be paid for also. Yeah, so go ahead.
All right, yes, and I'm very, very, very well versed in the bear. Having, with my experience around this table. And as you quite rightly said, Your Worship, this does go back to Provincial Transport Minister Carolyn Mulroney, and we, some years back, had her actually come to town. I think some of us were on the bus tour that we took her literally around the industrial park to show her what the importance of this. The bear, while it is absolutely a provincial regulatory and funding priority, there may be money under the Build Communities Strong Fund, and it was outlined to us, think outside the box on some of these. Now, that's 27.8 billion includes infrastructure for roads. And this is fairly new in a federal program. So again, I'm gonna say, under the Build Community Strong Fund, reach out to our office. We have the portal. We have the ability to make the application. And I even have the direct access to the parliamentary secretary who's gonna try and get these moving. So my recommendation is for the Bear, get a funding application in under the Build Community Strong Fund, and, you know, you don't know unless you apply.
Okay, thank you. MP Cramp, did you want to add to this? No? Anybody has any more questions? This will conclude our meeting. On behalf of council, I'd like to thank both of you for taking time out of your day. In your role, I know how busy you are, being in, I know Councillor MP Mallette, you have 3 ridings or 3 cities to cover, and you have about 14 municipalities, I think? 19, okay, 18. So I remember sitting at banquets with your father, and we would talk about our Saturdays, and he said, you know, I started in Prince Edward County, and I ended up in Lamab, and him and I would be waking each other up at the table, but lots of driving for you, Shelby, so it's great. I need a motion to rise and report moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Wright Miller. All in favor, carried. Confirmation bylaw 2026-029 be read and passed, moved by Councillor Cramp and Councillor Mallette. Councillor Enright, Councillor Kelly, all in favor, carried. Now, if I get you both to move the motion to adjourn, Councillor Brown, Councillor Enright, all in favor, thanks.